Now, before I begin, I'd just like to clear the air about that little controversy everybody was talking about a few weeks back. I have to tell you, I really thought this was much ado about nothing. But I do think we all learned an important lesson. I learned never again to pick another team over the Sun Devils in my NCAA brackets. It won't happen again. President Crow and the Board of Regents will soon learn about being audited by the IRS.
That was Barack Obama back in 2009, cracking a joke about auditing his, using the IRS to audit his enemies. You kind of wonder whether he was joking or not with everything happening today with the IRS targeting conservatives and Tea Party groups. It's a major scandal that is hitting the Obama administration right now. Welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show. This is a brand new show, and I'm glad to have you here tonight. We will talk about a lot of issues on this show. It won't always be about politics. I'm an actor too, and I like making movies, and so we're going to have a lot of fun on this show, and we're going to do a lot of different things. You'll see some skits. Hopefully we will get some guests here at some point. But I'm glad to be here tonight, folks, and there's a lot to talk about. First, I want to discuss this IRS issue a little bit. Right now, a lot of people are under the impression that it was just Tea Party groups that were targeted and conservative groups with Patriot in their title. But some new information has come about that shows that people who had donated to the Romney campaign or were involved with the Romney campaign, and that even information from Mitt Romney himself has been targeted by the IRS. There's an article in the, it's a Daily Caller article, and I'd actually like to read that to you guys tonight, a little bit, just excerpts. It says, the IRS was involved in the leaking of information concerning donations made by Mitt Romney's PAC. Last year, Romney donor Frank Vandersloot was attacked by Obama's campaign as a wealthy individual with a less than reputable record. He was then subjected to 3 IRS audits. So the question now is twofold. First, did the IRS provide Vandersloot's tax information to the Obama campaign? Second, did the administration order up an audit? The IRS also informed Vandersloot that it was going to, quote, audit workers he employs on his Idaho-based cattle ranch under the federal visa program for temporary agriculture workers. Vandersloot says he was one of 8 Mitt Romney Super PAC donors described in an April 2012 Obama campaign web posting as, quote, wealthy individuals with less than reputable records, end quote. When asked about whether any of the other 7 donors who appeared on the list were audited as well, Vandersloot spoke cautiously, but did say he wasn't the only one. Quote, I talked to only a handful of them since, end quote. Vandersloot said, quote, I've reached out to all of them. but only got calls back from a handful, and most of the responses were they're just laying low. You know, they took their own beatings, and they don't want any more of it, and they don't want to even talk about this. I don't know that everybody that was on it was audited. He went on. I don't know how many were. I know that I'm not the only one. I do know that. There's also another story here that is coming out in the news. It says this is also from the Daily Caller. It says, "We know there was improper IRS behavior back in 2012 when a prominent anti-gay marriage group accused the IRS of leaking private tax files that listed then presidential candidate Mitt Romney's group as a contributor. The National Organization for Marriage documents were later published by a group whose president was tied to the Obama re-election campaign." This is a little disturbing that we got the IRS targeting Americans. This is obviously against the Constitution and against the law, and we need to get to the bottom of this. Let's get some calls coming in to see if you guys have any thoughts. One thing I know is that the last president to target their enemies using the IRS was Richard Nixon. It's kind of, it shows that your presidency is kind of going downhill when you're being compared to Richard Nixon. So Obama's having a real tough time this week. But maybe he shouldn't be targeting his political enemies using the IRS. There's obviously new information coming out all the time about the terrorist attack in Benghazi, the cover-up. And tonight, there's actually brand new information, 100 pages of... Hello, welcome to Ben Gregersen Show.
Are you actually saying that Obama's going to get impeached just like Nixon was? Is that the comparison you're making there, that there's going to be a replay of Nixon going on?
Well, you know, I've got to tell you, with Barack Obama auditing or using the IRS to go after his enemies, and also this AP scandal. Apparently Obama has been wiretapping journalists at the AP. The last time this happened was under Richard Nixon. And there were impeachment hearings where two of the things mentioned was Nixon's wiretapping of journalists and him using the IRS to go after his enemies. But I need to point out that Richard Nixon wasn't impeached. He resigned before he could be impeached. But if he stayed in there any longer, he would have been impeached.
Well, it was Bill Clinton. But Bill Clinton was impeached, wasn't he?
Yep, and he wouldn't leave office. See, Nixon at least had the honor to resign when he knew that he no longer had faith from the American people.
How come the Democrat Party keeps voting these people in? I mean, I used to be a Democrat back in the 60s, and we didn't have people like that running for office. And yet you see these city councilmen here voting for Obama, and they're all backing the party, and then you get these kind of socialists. They're not even Democrats. I don't know what they are. This is something out of the European Union. So why do they vote for these people? And why do people in Pocatello, who supposedly are religious, vote for people like this, who are ungodly and communist? What's the world thing? I'll hang up and let you talk about it. It bothers me a great deal when the parties come to this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I don't know why the Democrat Party keeps voting for these socialist candidates. These are not, the Democrats of today are not the Democrats of the 1950s or even the 1960s. JFK cut taxes. He cut taxes and balanced the budget. He wasn't a big spender. But today, Democrats are tax and spend liberals, and they want to use your taxes to redistribute the wealth, to take from the rich and distribute it to the poor. And that is the very definition of socialism, and it doesn't work. And it's failed every single time it's been tried. It's not the government's job to play Robin Hood. Let's get back to Benghazi. There's more information we've learned tonight. 100 pages of emails have been released to the media, and they're saying that these are 100 pages that contradict the president's story on Benghazi, and it shows the cover-up in Benghazi. This is unprecedented. This Benghazi scandal is worse than Watergate. Nobody died in Watergate. Hello, welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show.
Yeah, Ben.
Yes.
I called you the worst asshole in the world a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I want to apologize for that.
Well, thank you. I accept your apology.
Because, sometimes you do have something going on, but most of the time, you don't.
Oh, all right. Well, why is that?
Because, like you said before, you have no original thoughts.
Sure I do.
I've told you that from the time you were a child. And you have no original thought.
Well, how do you know that? You don't even know me.
B, I know what you think and do.
How do you know that? Where do I work?
It's all your dad's thing,
No. I got a lot of my own ideas.
Simmer down.
All right.
I want you to think about something that is an original thought, that's not a conservative type of agenda.
Well, I'm a conservative.
I know that, but we go beyond that, please.
Go beyond that. All right. Let me see if I could think like a liberal here. It's kind of hard because...
I didn't ask you to think like a liberal. I asked you to think with an original thought.
All right. I'll think of an original thought.
Would ice cream be ice cream if it wasn't vanilla?
Sure.
Sure. You don't even know that, do you?
Well, it's made out of milk. You don't have to put vanilla in there.
No, it could be made out of yogurt also.
Well, that's
See, Ben,
called frozen yogurt.
You don't know jack.
Well, that's not ice cream. That's frozen yogurt.
Ben, you are a very smart person and you're a good person, but you do not direct the things that you have talent for in the ways that could be done. You just do them in this horseshit crap.
Hey, you know what? Let's try not to swear on the show, okay?
I'm sorry. But you just don't use your talents right. Ben, you're a smart guy. You know stuff. You need to use your talents well.
Oh, why don't you think I use my talents right?
No, you're not. You're just walking around in your father's footsteps, doing all the crap.
I'm not walking in my father's footsteps.
You're smart.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that you think that I'm smart. But I'm different than my father. I'm going down my own path. This is the path I want to go down. Huh?
I don't really think that.
Well, you don't have to, but you want to know something? I know it. I know that I am going my own way, my own path. Except the path that I'm going down is one that leads to God. Because I believe in God, and I want to live with my Heavenly Father again someday. So ultimately, that is my ultimate goal in life. So the path that I choose to go down is God's path. It's not my earthly father's path, but it's my Heavenly Father's path.
That's nice, Ben, and I'm glad you believe in that, and you said that very well. But when it comes to politics, I think you should get God out of it and start thinking about politics.
Well,
You understand
you know,
that, Ben?
you know where my
You
political
understand that, Ben? Get God out of it and think about politics.
well, you know where my
Ben,
you know where my politics come from, where my beliefs in the political system come from. They come from the Constitution of the United States. In fact, I actually carry one of these with me. This is a pocket Constitution. And one thing I'll tell you is the Constitution was written to guarantee the promise that is laid out in the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence says, it declares that our rights come from God, and that governments are established to protect our God-given rights. This Constitution was created to protect our rights that come from God. That's the government's job. Our rights don't come from government. They come from God. And I believe in that. That's what the Founding Fathers shared. I could read with you a lot of quotes. George Washington, his final address as president, he said that, actually, you know what? I think that I'm going to find it in here and I'm going to read it. Oh, here it is. This is George Washington. This was his farewell address. It says, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, these firmest props of the duties of men and citizens. Let it simply be asked, where is the security for property, for reputation, for life, if the sense of religious obligation desert the oaths which are instruments of investigation in courts of justice? And let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Whatsoever may be conceded to the influence of refined education, reason, and experience, both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. End quote. George Washington. I believe in the things that our founding fathers said. I believe in the Constitution, and our Constitution was created to protect our God-given rights. That's what America is founded from. It was founded on the idea that our rights come from God and not government. And the Constitution was established to keep the government small and limited so that the people could rule over their government. If the government gets too big, it's a lot harder for the people to have control over their government. Right now, it seems like the government is gaining control over the people, and that's not how it's supposed to be. The Constitution was established so that we could have a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And as a conservative, I promise that I will fight the rest of my life to protect and preserve this Constitution, because this is the only protection of our liberties. It's the only thing that protects us from bad leaders, from people that try to trample the Constitution. This Constitution is the only thing that stops them from destroying our freedoms. I love my country, and I want to do all I can to preserve the freedoms of my country for my children and my grandchildren. And this country is an amazing country, and it's something worth fighting for. You know, I'll tell you something else about this Constitution, and this is something Americans should be proud of. Our Constitution was the very first Constitution in the world. Every other Constitution that has been established by other countries have been based on this Constitution. So really, the American Revolution, the Constitution, it expanded freedom across the world. To me, that's amazing, that the world is more free because of the establishment of our country. I love that. And that's something to be proud of. And that is something that I feel like we don't hear about enough anymore. We need to remember that our country is special, that it's exceptional, and that it has expanded freedom all around the world. Every democracy, every constitutional government is based on the principles laid out in the United States Constitution. And I believe that this Constitution was inspired by God. All right. And speaking of the Constitution, the government is supposed to be limited so that it doesn't become tyrannical. I think the reason why we're seeing so many scandals in the Obama administration today is because the government's gotten too big. You know, Obama's been stepping on this Constitution. It doesn't mean anything to them anymore. This is just an old document with no importance. So the government gets so big, and as it grows, the more and more that we have scandals and bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. that are breaking the law and spitting on this Constitution. Now, I would like to show you guys an ABC News report. And
ABC News exclusive new questions for the White House this morning about whether it knew the truth about the Benghazi terror attack. ABC's senior White House correspondent Jonathan Karl has been working the story overnight, joins us now from the White House. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Josh. As you know, when this attack happened, the White House initially said it arose out of a spontaneous protest over an anti-Muslim video. That turned out not to be true, and the White House said they relied entirely on CIA talking points. But I have obtained 12 different versions of those talking points that shows that they were dramatically edited by the administration. Take a look at two of them. On the left, a draft initially written by the CIA. On the right, one that was used by the White House, the final version. What was taken out? All references to Al-Qaeda and all references to CIA warnings before the attack about the terror threat in Benghazi.
So then, John, again, if this gains traction now, as they seem to be direct contradictions, how bad could this be for the State Department and its former head, Hillary Clinton?
Well, that remains to be seen. But, Josh, I have had emails read to me that show that many of these changes were directed by Hillary Clinton's spokesperson at the State Department, Victoria Nuland. In one email, she said that information about CIA warnings, quote, could be abused by members of Congress to beat up the State Department for not paying attention to warnings. So why would we want to feed that? After that email, all of those references were deleted. Now, the White House is saying that there is nothing inappropriate about the State Department giving input into this, and that ultimately the CIA drafted these talking points and approved them. But I'll tell you, Josh, they initially said only one word had been changed.
In that video, we learned that the White House changed the talking points that the CIA had written. They erased Al-Qaeda from the talking points, and they erased all warnings, all CIA warnings of a potential terrorist attack in Benghazi. Now, what I find quite disturbing about that is even after the CIA warned our government that there could be terrorist attacks in Benghazi, there was still no security in Benghazi. You'd think that after they received those warnings that they would have ramped up the security, but they didn't. And even our ambassador requested for more security, and that was denied by the State Department. And on 9/11 of all days, there was no security. And there's 4 Americans that are dead because of it. I just can't imagine that. It sickens me. Hello, welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show.
You've heard of Obi-Wan Kenobi, haven't you?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
You've got Obi-Wan Benghazi. You strike him down and he can become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Good night.
I love Star Wars. You want to know something? I am the biggest Star Wars fan of all time. May 4th, Star Wars Day. Every year I pop in those Star Wars, and I watch episode 1 all the way through episode 6. I love Star Wars. One of my favorite movies. So I just thought I'd let all of you know that, since we got a Star Wars call, and now you all know that I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I think Darth Vader is pretty awesome.